I, 29F, can't look at my husband, 31M, without feeling guilty after nearly killing our daughter. How do I even fix this? Trigger warning, traumatic birth. My husband, 31M, and I, 29F, have been excited for the longest time anticipating the birth of our daughter. It was a difficult pregnancy and we both had absolutely no clue WTF we are doing, yet we were the happiest we'd ever been. We were about to be parents. We went to the hospital on the 30th to endure labor, since she was a few days past her due date and we were just growing anxious. Turns out my blood pressure spiked severely, and Jesus, when I say that labor pain is honestly the most excruciating thing in the world, even as someone with a high pain tolerance, I mean it. I'm sorry for the TMI, but I had a lot of bleeding and I was honestly exhausted by the time I even started pushing. My husband was right there with me looking so terrified, and I was basically passing out because I felt like I just couldn't do it. They attempted at doing an assisted extraction using a medical suction tool and that too failed. So last resort was rushing me to surgery for a C-section. I was put under and woke up to being wheeled back to a room. I kept asking where she was, and my husband just told me she was being taken care of and I needed to rest. Apparently it took longer than normal for me to even wake up. When I was coherent enough, I found out there had been some complications. I was like, but she's okay, right? And my husband said, yeah, she's perfect. She just needed extra care, because of how traumatic the birth was on both of us. My heart rate got dangerous low at 1.2 and my husband was dealing with all of this alone. She stopped breathing and also ingested some fecal matter, and it took 15 minutes of chest compressions to get her back again. My husband had opted to wait to tell me this, after I'd still been put on high alert due to my blood pressure. And he didn't want me to risk spiking it again, as that was a major concern. Doctor told me she is doing well, she's alive, but they can't tell what kind of damage lack of oxygen might have to her brain. Is she gonna be okay? Or how it might affect her in the future, because it's too early to tell the severity of it all right now. I just stared at my daughter hooked up to all those tubes in an incubator. I walked to the bathroom and sat on the floor crying for an hour. I feel like I failed her. My one job was to get her into the world safely and I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it right and she might suffer because of it. My husband thinks I'm mad at him for not telling me the truth earlier. But I know he had a similar meltdown from what my family told me while the DRs were trying to help me as well. I told him I understand, but I don't think he believes me. I just can't talk to him properly. I told him I failed us and he just keeps being amazing and positive, and I feel like I don't deserve any of it. Granted, it hasn't been a week yet. My daughter is still in a neonatal ICU unit doing well, but I feel like a horrible waste of the term mother and wife. I don't really know what advice I'm looking for. How do I help my husband? My daughter? LOL myself? I know we need counseling, but I'm still healing, shouldn't be on my feet, but I'm doing hospital runs to be able to see my daughter frequently and bring her the milk I pumped. All our focus is on getting her home ATM. I have a BP check tomorrow because I'm on meds now. FFS still dealing with stitches again. This happened last Tuesday. It's fresh and I'm still on medication and so I'm lost here, people. I don't know what I want, maybe just to vent. I woke up from a nightmare dreaming about being BK on that bed during labor pushing, and I woke up crying with him holding me. Edit 1. Everyone in my family has kids, most had them as teens, and Liz, as an only child to a single mom, wanted commitment, marriage and stability, so I'm the last person out of a big family to have gotten pregnant so late. No one ever had issues, so when I went on my due date, maybe something is wrong, should I go to the hospital? Everyone said no, it's normal to go past your due date, you just have to wait. So I waited a day. And I was panicked and stressed, but everyone kept telling me how irrational I was being despite my husband saying if I wanted to go we should go. I didn't want to seem like the crazy new mommy that was overreacting. So I waited another day. I guess I'm constantly thinking about how I should have gone in. I shouldn't have waited. I should have been less nice at the hospital and made more of a fuss when I felt like I was losing too much strength during my contractions even. I work with kids. I love kids. I've always wanted them. Leah might have issues with her motor skills, her speech, her brain development even as a whole. She is currently on antibiotics and a feeding tube even though she has shown she is a fighter. In no way am I gonna love her less if she has any difficulties. I have worked with special needs kids, but the reality is I know how hard it is for them. And me feeling like I waited too long and I couldn't just put 10 kids like my grandmother made me feel like I was just not fit for any of this. I know I'm likely suffering from PPD and I will bring it up, though Loren is my priority, even though again I know I should take care of myself too. I will speak to my husband about my feelings and maybe show him the post. I know it's not my fault logically and just my bad mental state clouding my judgment. I have an appointment for my blood pressure today and then heading to the hospital. My husband brought me some cereal, so I'm gonna take my pills and watch some stupid TikToks he is showing me. Update. So the hospital called me back. Basically I need to do feedings with Leah while she's on all her meds. Luckily the feeding tube is out, which is a big yay. But I need to be here now 24/7 sleeping in a chair basically because of a lack of beds and dealing with a screaming newborn I have zero idea how to care for, and I just want to scream. My husband isn't allowed in the room at all because it's shared with other moms who are also breastfeeding constantly, so if he wants to see us we have to go stand in the hallway. And right now she's getting blood drawn, screaming bloody murder while I wait outside trying to not cry. I'm failing, by the way. I'm crying. They said a few more days and I don't know if I can do T. I did tell the doctor I wanted to speak to a therapist. Leah is doing well. She had an infection though. Is on antibiotics, hence the blood tests to see if LTS cleared up. They say a few more days, but I can barely manage the nights on my own. She's constantly up and crying and I feel like I don't know WTF to do, so I sometimes cry with her. I just want us to go home. I miss my husband. Who is busy missing meals because he's so focused on us he's not feeling too well. When I asked him when last he ate properly, I had to help him remember, and that was Sunday night. At home is support and love and family. That's all I'm focused on now. Taking such good care of her here that the DRs want to send us home. She's okay. She's alive. She's off the feeding tube. She has fantastic lungs because she keeps everyone awake all night long using them. Her father is absolutely besotted with her. She frowns whenever I touch her feet. I don't like people touching my feet either. She's gorgeous. She really is. I want to go home. I want her to go home. I need support. I do. I'm trying to hold on best I can and not fall apart. It's rough. Sleeping in a chair is definitely affecting my stitches and I am in a lot of pain a lot of the time. Edit 2. Good news. So hospital is hooking me up with an occupational therapist to help me get accustomed to helping Leah the best I can with movement and exercises that are good for her body and brain. My husband, being his wonderful self, went to speak to his boss today about arranging his working hours to accommodate that when we get to go home. It will be maybe 3 to 4 times a week. Blood work came back, and although we can't go home yet, I'm trying to convey the message I got all medically on a tired brain, so DRs or whoever may correct me. So they did blood work and her viral count for being able to fight off infection, I think, is what the DR said should be a 10 for a healthy child. So that if she gets sick she'll be okay. At birth Leah's was 24, then spiked to a 30. Why she went on antibiotics and needs to be monitored. Good news is after today's blood work it's at 14. So not a 10 yet. But it's proof the antibiotics are working. And that she is on her way to being a roadworthy. That's a bad joke from my husband. I don't really get it, but he said it and laughed for like a whole minute. So as much as I hate this hospital, I can do a whole month if it means she will be healthy. So by Friday we should be going home, or latest Saturday morning. Spoke to the DR again. She assured me the baby blues are normal and they will connect me to a therapist, but I know with public health, and especially mental health in my country, it takes a while. And all our finances went into preparing for her, and with me being like this IDK when I'll be going back to work, especially with having to give her all our attention. So we will see. If they set it up I'll need my husband to get help too. I don't think he wants to admit how much this actually affected him. He doesn't eat much. And he was spaced out today, and I had a heart-to-heart with him about how much we appreciate him and how he is amazing for even being there with me and not freaking out or getting scared. I know a lot of men, especially in my family, refuse to even be in the delivery room for any births. He kinda broke down a lil and said it was scary watching me like that, and then watching the same thing with her he felt helpless. I told him how much I adore him and he just told me he loved me, and that's enough. I will keep trying with him. I need him to not neglect himself. He is absolutely in love with her. Even finds her frowning to be the most adorable thing in the world. I think I lost him. Edit 4. So Jesus, there is something so wrong with people, my God. I got a very interesting message. I'm so glad I read only after replying here, because if my mental state was anything other than positive, WTF even. So people send messages like this. Hi. I just want to say yes, you did fail your daughter, but you don't have to fail yourself. Lack of oxygen is a big deal. Your daughter will have issues. Look up Rosemary Kennedy. You don't want to go through that. I'm just saying, for your own quality of life, get rid of her. Put her up for adoption, cause she's gonna have issues. You don't seem to have enough money or education for that. Apparently what's best for her is a family that loves her should give her up to save ourselves the burden of possibly having a child with difficulties. Because that's clearly what parenting is. I am becoming myself very much again. I am of sound mind to know this person is either a horrible troll or someone who would push their mother off a goddamn bridge to save themselves. Edit 5. We are going home.